Hi, my name is Ralynnda March, and I'm a student here at Arkansas State University. I'm actually a senior in our education department. Last semester, when I was in my performance-based instructional design class, my professor, Dr. Natalie Johnson, amazing professor, had me and my peers do submersion sessions, which is where we go online to this immersion website and we go through some virtual reality sessions. They're usually about 15 minutes long, and you go through these different situations. And so I went through 3 sessions, and it was funny because when I first started, I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I don't want to do this. This is not necessary. But after my very first session, I came to realize just how wrong I was. As I've already said, my title is Learning the Ropes. You see, back in the day, before steam or fossil fuel powered boats were a thing, they would have, most of them were, they all had sails. Most boats had sails, and that was how they were steered. And so what they would have to do when they were training someone to steer in these ships and get these ships sailing, they would have recruits come in and they would learn how to tie knots so that they could, manipulate ropes and all these things to help help move the sails. And so when these recruits would come in and they would train them, these series of lessons became known as learning the ropes. And that's kind of what immersion was for me. Confrontation is not my strong suit. And I quickly began to realize how in my 3 sessions that I did, it wasn't just about it wasn't just about preparing the perfect lesson. It wasn't about knowledge. The immersion sessions were not there to test you on your knowledge. They were there to help you implement it, but also more so help you implement that and while reacting with students, because that's the one that you can take all these classes. That's the one thing our classes can never prepare us for, is once we get into that classroom, they can't prepare us for how we're going to interact with students, how we're going to interact with their parents. Yes, you can know the knowledge all day long, but if you can't interact with the people, what good is that going to do? And that's where like your field 2 and your field 3, really, really beneficial. But the thing about those experiences is by that time they're throwing you in the field with real people. So you go from not having any experience with real people to now you get to learn with real people, people that you can damage relationships with if you say the wrong thing, if you do something wrong, if you don't handle a situation the right way. Immersion, though, before I ever had to, get thrown into that, without any experience, I had some sessions immersion where I worked on confrontation. My very first session, it was confrontation with students. It's supposed to be a situation where you're set up first day of class, you're trying to set expectations. You got all these different personalities when it comes to kids. And everyone is unique in their own way. The main source of confrontation was the girl with the attitude problem, because she really did not like me very much. She tried to fall asleep. And so I had to address that. I had to figure out how to, in front of the class, because it's right then and there, you've got to address something without creating an atmosphere that was uncomfortable for the others to learn. And then in my session 2, we moved to parent-teacher confrontation. And this confrontation was really more led so by the parent, because their kid he was being bullied. And then in session 3, we've got that teacher-led confrontation where I'm going to a parent and I'm like, listen, your kid scored here. We need them there. So we need to implement a plan. I need you on board. And all 3 of these sessions, as you can see on my poster, I've got QR codes. You can scan them and you can watch my session. It's got the beginning where I talk to the simulator, and then it even has my reflections at the end. And it's really an engaging experience. I highly recommend every intern, and not just intern, I think throughout our entire teaching experience, all 4 years that I've been here, when we get to the teaching classes, I think every teaching class should have a level of immersion implemented into it. Because if we can get into these simulations and we can develop those social skills, those like thinking on your feet, problem solving, confrontation having skills before we ever enter a classroom, it's going to save us a lot of heartache. Because the moment that a parent feels like they are in opposition to you, that you are an enemy, you are an opponent, you are an obstacle, you've lost them, and the kid is in jeopardy, their education is in jeopardy. You all have to be able to work together. The best way to do that is to get those social skills ironed out before you ever enter a classroom. And so that's all I have. And again, this was immersion, learning the ropes. Have a good day.